right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger or Eagle. Auburn is vastly approaching spring football. So what do we want to know? We want to know what's going on with the guys that have been there, though. The guys like Javaris Johnson that we haven't seen, J.J. Evans. What's going on with those guys? Because, you know, back in the past, we used to get, like, super excited about guys that, I mean, just blew it up on video footage, but then they come to Auburn and get buried in the depth chart. What's Bryan Harsin going to do with these guys? I mean, Javaris Johnson was a speedster. J.J. Evans out of Montevallo, Alabama, was a speedster, was looking to be a good wide receiver. But, you know, I can't say this as far as being true. But, you know, Gus Malzahn may have had some level of favoritism towards the guys that were already there. And then when you put these guys on the field, like your Elijah Canyons, and you put Kobe Hudson and guys like those on the field, it's like, damn, why are they on the bench? And in times past, it was really frustrating to the Auburn fan base to see these things happen. And it's like, why, you know, we get excited on signing day. Hey, we got this kid, we got that kid. And next thing you know, you never hear from them again. Or you see they've done this, like, absolutely ridiculous position change, like Devin Barrett, that's probably not going to work. Right? So, going into spring training, I just want to know, you know, how are these guys going to be utilized? Auburn has a wealth of skilled players that have either been underutilized or just not utilized at all. And that's something under this regime that is going to have to change. And I think if Bryan Harsin is going to be ultimately successful, he's definitely going to have to tap into the talent that is already there. Because a lot of folks are like, well, Auburn only had the number 20 recruiting class. Okay, I think that's, you know, given Auburn's recent standard, that's you know, pretty much subpar. But considering where it was prior to Bryan Harsin's arrival, I think it was a pretty good level of stopping the bleeding, if you will. Bryan Harsin, I think, is just walking into not necessarily a gold mine, but he's walking into a relatively favorable situation where there's a lot of things in place. You got a starting quarterback over the last 2 years with Bo Nix, a lot of experience in the SEC. You have running back situations that can prove to be a pretty considerable amount of depth. And I think this could really be a situation that sets Auburn up to a relative amount of success. Now, I'm going to talk about in another video about Tank Bigsby as to whether he's, you know, can be looked at as a Heisman candidate. I have my pros and cons on that, and we'll do that a little bit later on. But either way, man, I mean, let's dig into this untapped talent. Let's dig into the guys that have been buried in the depth chart with all this talent just waiting to come out. Or worst case scenario, their talent isn't utilized, and then they hit the transfer portal and move on. And that's another thing that Bryan Harsin and other coaching staffs around the country are having to battle with now. You have to roster manage a little bit more now. It's not a situation where you can just say, okay, this kid is committed and he's going to be here for 4 years no matter what. The transfer portal has given these kids, if they're not getting their just desserts where they are, they can hit the portal and move on. And that's something that, you know, you want to look at. I think one of the worst ones had to be Asa Martin. Just poor roster management on his part, on Gus Malzahn and his staff's part. Allowing this kid to play 4 games, wasting a year of eligibility. You know, that kind of stuff you can't do moving forward. All right, guys, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, Talking Auburn Football. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger or Eagle.